Chapter 204, The Ill-Fated Lady of Feng Rushuang. For by doing this, Qin Chen could never win Feng Ruking's heart. Qing Zhu was thrilled as it thought that Nanxian would compliment it for such a great idea. As long as Nanxian was happy with its idea, he would never throw it out of the house. A glimmer of light flashed in Nanxian's eyes and quickly vanished without a trace. His nonchalant gaze moved to Feng Rushuang's back. Would Qing'e be happy if I killed her? Not long after, Feng Ruking's words flashed in Nanxian's mind, and his face darkened a few shades. Qing'e told me that she doesn't want me to avenge her. She wants to handle it on her own. However, if I am just teaching Feng Rushuang a lesson, it wouldn't be considered revenge. The corners of Nanxian's lips curved into a faint smile. Not far away, Feng Rushuang turned her head around to glance at Nanxian. It seemed like she was reluctant to part with Nanxian. At this moment, Nanxian too was staring at her silently. Simply no one knew what he had on his mind. When her eyes met his, her heart thumped violently as color rose to her cheeks. Mother is right. The state preceptor has truly fallen for me. Otherwise, he wouldn't come out of the southern bamboo grove to watch me leave with his eyes filled with melancholy. Bang! When Feng Rushuang was lost in her happy thoughts, the tree next to her fell down and pressed down on her before she could react. Struggling in pain, Feng Rushuang's body was covered in cold sweat as color drained from her face. At this time, a giant rock rolled down and smashed right on her bosom and blood spurted out from her mouth. Seeing this, the soldiers behind her flew into a great panic and stared, shocked, at Feng Rushuang, who was soaked in blood. What had actually happened? The tree had suddenly fallen down, and a giant rock had appeared out of nowhere. Do we need to heal her first? A soldier asked hesitantly. It was nothing. As a cultivator, she won't die from this. Take her straight to the barracks. We may get ourselves in trouble if there are any delays. Master Nalan and Her Highness will not be happy then, another soldier said after pondering for a while. As Feng Rushuang was badly hurt, her face contorted in pain as she spat a mouthful of blood again. Feng Ruqing. She must be the one who did this. I will not let you off easily. Standing under the setting sun, with one hand at the back, Nanxian's sleeve fluttered in the wind. His gaze swept over Qing Zhu, who was clinging onto his arm as he said nonchalantly, You know it very well, how to hold your tongue. Don't worry, Master, I will not tell Her Highness. Qing Zhu regained its composure and nodded hastily. Temph. Nanxian looked away and turned to walk toward the southern bamboo grove. Just as Nanxian stepped into the southern bamboo grove, Qing Zhu turned its head and glanced at Feng Rushuang, who was still pinned under the fallen tree. Its eyes were filled with sympathy. This lady had actually messed with the wrong person. She was no doubt seeking her own demise. No one in this could mess with the person Nanxian cared for. Ever since the snow wolf was bullied, Feng Rushuang wanted to enhance her strength rapidly. Naturally, the iron-blooded troop was part of her strength. Hence, she had gone into the palace to visit the iron-blooded troop. However, she did not expect that she would end up lying on the state preceptor's bed when she walked past the southern bamboo grove. I truly have lost my mind seeing his beautiful face. Business before pleasure, I must not do this again. Walking in the courtyard where the iron-blooded troop was settled, Feng Rushuang reached out to her forehead as she sighed softly. Chapter 205, Enhanced Ability. In the courtyard, Tang Zi was training the iron-blooded troop under the setting sun. Tang Zi raised her head only to see Feng Ruqing, who was stepping into the courtyard. Slightly startled, Tang Zi walked toward Feng Ruqing. Master, why are you here? I'm here to pay you all a visit and talk about the future of the iron-blooded troop. Originally, Feng Ruqing had brought a bottle of spirit wine for the iron-blooded troop. However, she had lost it in the southern bamboo grove. I forgot to bring you all the spirit wine. Feng Ruqing forced a smile in embarrassment. Master, the spirit wine you gave us last time was really something. Even though it was not powerful enough for us to make a breakthrough, our strength has been greatly enhanced, Tang Zi said with a smile on her face. That's great. Tang Zi, even though Liu Yun Kingdom looks peaceful on the surface, it is in actual fact chaotic both inside and outside the kingdom. The iron-blooded troop shouldn't just settle down in the palace. Tang Zi's expression grim, and the smile slowly faded away. I have thought of the things that you have said before, and I have since sent a few people out of the palace to gain some experience and training. Without a real battle, even an almighty power would slowly be depleted. No, that's not what I meant. I am saying that every one of you needs to get out of the palace. Stunned, Tang Zi stared straight into Feng Ruking's face, the face that she could not be more familiar with. Master, even though Master Nalan and Master Qin has attained Spirit Warrior tier, I am afraid that we should not just leave the palace. As you have said, the whole kingdom is chaotic both inside and outside the kingdom. As Tang Zi had promised Empress Nalan that she would protect the emperor and princess with her own life, she could never leave the palace, especially not now. Tang Zi, Liu Yun Kingdom would be just fine with my grandpa and Master Qin, guarding the kingdom. You have to get out of here and should only return if you have attained Spirit Warrior tier. Moreover, you cannot even protect yourself with your current strength. Let alone protect my father and me. Feng Ruqing furrowed her brows as she said earnestly. Your servant understands. Tang Zi sank into silence and looked up to Feng Ruqing after a while. It was true that Tang Zi would never improve, being grounded in the palace. She would definitely attain Spirit Warrior tier if she left the palace. Tang Zi, the iron-blooded troop is part of my strength. My strength grows along with the iron-blooded troop. Hence, I would get the Snow Wolf to lead you all into the forest of spirit beasts. However, you must bear this in mind. You all can only stay at the boundary and not anywhere deeper. Feng Ruqing reached out and patted Tang Zi's shoulder. Tang Zi was thrilled when she heard Feng Ruking's words. She broke into a bright smile. Her eyes flickered with joy. Master, I will not let you down. Listen, all of you, except the Snow Wolf, must not return to the city without making a breakthrough. I will get a lot of spirit wine ready for you all. It will increase the speed for a breakthrough. A lot of spirit wine? Master has a lot of spirit wine? Tang Zi was lost in wonder, but she did not ask any further. Her eyes were brimming with radiating vigor like some glittering stars. Master, don't worry. We will never let you down. Tang Zi balled her fists forcefully. Her voice resonated in the air for a long while before it faded. Chapter 206, Enhanced Ability 2. After Feng Ruqing had finished distributing all the tasks, she left the palace. Once she reached her princess manor, the Snow Wolf came running to her at lightning speed, wagging its wolf tail, and had almost crushed Feng Ruqing. Feng Ruking's face darkened and seemed a little annoyed. She kicked the Snow Wolf a few feet away without any hesitation. The Snow Wolf quickly got up and shook off the dust from its body. It cried out in a pitiful howl again and again as it felt very hurt to be treated this way. Master liked dogs. Coincidentally, the Snow Wolf had passed by a house where a dog displayed such welcoming act for its owner just now, so it picked up the trick. Why wasn't the outcome like what the Snow Wolf had expected? It did not receive the same fondness from Feng Ruqing like the dog did. This was so unfair. Since you're here, I have an important task for you. Feng Ruqing smiled as she looked at the aggrieved Snow Wolf who kept showing its begging eyes to her. The iron-blooded troop is going to the forest of spirit beasts for training tomorrow. I want you to follow them as well. This was shocking news to the Snow Wolf. It was totally dumbfounded. It had only one question in its mind. Is she going to abandon me? Really abandon me? Howl. The Snow Wolf cried out a mournful whimper and tried to throw itself at Feng Ruking's feet. It hugged her legs tightly with both its forelegs while pleading her with its eyes. It seemed to be trying to say, please don't abandon me. I will eat less and do more work. I don't want to be the abandoned little wolfie, male wolf, go away. Feng Ruqing was annoyed. Once again, she kicked the Snow Wolf to the side using her foot. Howl. The Snow Wolf attempted to cry out in a pitiful howl again. Its facial expression was filled with hurt to the point where its tears were almost flowing down. You have eaten so many of my divine spirit fruits, and you still want to laze around. Feng Ruking's face darkened when she saw the unwillingness shown by the Snow Wolf. She demanded, do you still want to take revenge for the assault? What assault was she talking about? Perhaps she actually meant to say, it was robbed the last time? Although that old man failed to snatch its divine spirit fruit, he was still considered guilty for having the intention of stealing those fruit. Thus, the snow wolf nodded its head under Feng Ruking's heated gaze. Yes, it really yearned for revenge. Since you want to take revenge, then bring them to train at the Forest of Spirit Beasts. You are more familiar with the terrain since you have been there. Never let them enter the Tier 4 Spirit Beasts territory. Feng Ruqing squinted while she instructed. She continued, one more thing. If you happen to bump into any Tier 3 Spirit Beasts, you know what to do. I still need more workers. Lure them to me. Do not let Tang Zi hit those Tier 3 Spirit Beasts to death. The snow wolf beamed with happiness. It was glad that its master never intended to abandon it but only wanted it to work harder. By the way, you must come home once every 5 days. I will give you some spirit herbs, and it's your responsibility to pass these herbs to the troop members. Do help them to safeguard the herbs as well. The Forest of Spirit Beasts is full of danger. Without the spirit herbs, I will feel worried, Feng Ruqing voiced her concern. Upon hearing about the spirit herbs, the snow wolf's mouth started watering, and its eyes shimmered with excitement. You can have some of the spirit herbs too, but not more than 3 herbs per day, Feng Ruqing warned the snow wolf with a suspicious glare. Actually, it was quite easy to help the iron-blooded troop members to succeed in their cultivation breakthrough. As long as Feng Ruqing managed to hit the level of true warrior tier, she could start to cultivate the Tier 3 spirit herbs. The spirit wine or herbal dish made of Tier 3 spirit herbs would be able to help the true warrior tier cultivators reach their breakthrough. On the contrary, before she managed to cultivate Tier 3 spirit herbs, the earth bear and the snow wolf still could not cultivate it even though they were Tier 3 spirit beast. This was the restriction for spirit beasts to cultivate spirit herbs. Looks like I have to put more focus on my training for the next few days, Feng Ruqing mumbled to herself while gazing up at the azure blue sky. Chapter 207, The Breakthrough to True Warrior Tier 1 Tan Residence Courtyard. In the quiet courtyard, there was only anguished wailing. It was like a sharp needle stabbing at Liu Yuchen's heart ruthlessly. He was extremely heartbroken and devastated, looking at the closed door of the room with guilt in his eyes. Finally, he pushed the door open and slowly stepped into the room. On the bed in the room was Tan Shuangshuang lying on her stomach. Her back was soaked with blood as it kept seeping out from the wounds. She looked like a lifeless doll, as pale as a white sheet, looking pathetic and miserable. Tan Shuangshuang sensed someone standing at her door. Her eyelids barely moved, but she could not close her eyes. Her corners of her lips turned into a sneer. Shuang'er, Liu Yuchen was heartbroken to see his beloved woman suffering. He gasped in pain. I am sorry. I am really sorry. Tan Shuangshuang closed her eyes, her apathy was well hidden underneath. When she opened her eyes again, there was no more indifference and hatred but only grief. Yuchen, why have you only visited me now after so many days? Liu Yuchen was startled. He did not know how to explain to Tan Shuangshuang that his father had prohibited him from coming to the Tan residence. He was worried that they would be dragged into the hot water because of the Tan family. Moreover, his father had attempted to force him to marry Feng Ruqing, that wicked and malicious woman, again. Liu Yuchen had sworn to himself that he would choose death rather than marrying that woman again. He pledged not to disappoint the woman who loved him more than her own life. Shuang'er, the Liu family. Something happened at home, so it has hindered me for a while. I have come a little later to see you. Liu Yuchen walked to Tan Shuangshuang's bed and caressed her soft hair gently. He looked down to see her clothes soaked in red blood, and the sight pained him again. You have suffered a lot. Shuang'er would not suffer such an injury if it was not because of him. In fact, Feng Ruqing would not treat Shuang'er this way if it was not because of him too. He was the one who had caused Shuang'er's suffering, so he would never disappoint her in his life ever again. I do feel wronged, but my grief does not come from enduring 200 plank punishment for you and your mother. I feel sorry for myself. Look at how far I am willing to sacrifice myself for you, but you are only visiting me today. Tan Shuangshuang mocked her own foolishness with a pathetic laugh. Her eyes were full of tears. Liu Yuchen, I love you with my whole life, but you treat me like this in return. Liu Yuchen quickly held Tan Shuang's hands as the words really pained him. His handsome face turned into a frown. Shuang, I know I am useless. I have let you suffer this pain. I promise you that I will never let other people bully you again in the future. In this lifetime, Shuang was the only woman who had loved him with her life. Feng Ruqing kept on saying that she would only marry him, but she had humiliated him in public. Moreover, she had fallen into another guy's embrace in such a short time. He would definitely take revenge for his shame and humiliation. Tan Shuang tried to sit up, but she felt the unbearable pain once she moved even just a little. She gasped in pain and lay down again. Liu Yuchen panicked. Shuang, your injury is too severe. It is better if you don't move around too much for now. By the way, where is the physician? Why isn't any physicians here to treat your wound? Tan Shuang sneered coldly and looked down at herself. Everything changed after the Tan family was in trouble. Those physicians who used to attach themselves to the Tan family had left once they had heard about it. Even though her family tried to hire a physician from outside, nobody was willing to treat her injury after they found out that she had angered the princess. However, there was no need for Liu Yuchen to know about this matter. The princess has given a command to prohibit anyone from giving me treatment. If any physician disobeys her wish, she would kill the person. I am not willing to see any innocent people die because of me, so I have asked them to leave. Chapter 208, The Breakthrough to True Warrior Tier 2 Boom. The last string held to his temper snapped. His anger was burning up to his head. Liu Yuchen's eyes were red with rage. He clenched his fists, and his blue veins started to pop up around his face. Feng Ruqing. Never thought that she is such a vile woman. Comparing Feng Ruqing and Shuang, the first one was the infamous malevolent and ruthless woman, while the latter was a naive and innocent sweetheart. He could not fathom this. How could a person be so malevolent to this extent? Shuang had never done anything bad, but Feng Ruqing kept putting her in trouble. Did she intend to force Shuang to take her own life? Shuang, I will never let anything happen to you. I will get someone to treat your injury later. After you have recovered, I promise to bring you to dine at Paramount. I heard they have come up with a new herbal dish recently. It can help in healing, so it must be good for your recovery. However, the herbal dish was not cheap at all. For Shuang's sake, he was willing to spend a fortune for her. All sacrifice was worth it when it came to Shuang. It was such a pity that Paramount's herbal dish not allowed for takeaway. Otherwise, he would not have come empty-handed today. Suddenly, it was silent in the room. After a moment of silence, Tan Shuang finally opened her mouth. Her miserable tone stabbed Liu Yuchen's heart with every word she uttered. Yuchen, how good would it be if you did not pursue me at the very beginning? Then I would never annoy the princess. Nobody is willing to treat my injury, and even my father is terminated from his service now. Tan Shuang laughed sadly to herself. Perhaps I should have been more conscious about my status. After all, she is a princess. She still has His Majesty to side her despite all her wrongdoings. Liu Yuchen was startled upon hearing those words from her. He never expected her to say something hurtful like this. What she said was true. He was indeed a burden to Shuang. If he did not pursue her before this, then Shuang would not suffer from so many misfortune and pain and even cause Grand Tutor Tan to lose his job. Everything was his fault. Liu Yuchen felt even more guilty when he thought about it. He clenched his fists tightly, but no words came out of his mouth. Since my father holds no position now, I am sure that Chancellor Liu will not allow us to be together. Tan Shuang lowered her gaze and smiled sadly. It is all right, I do not care about it anymore. Everything is my fault. I have to bear the consequences. Liu Yuchen quickly stopped her and grabbed her hands with both his hands. His eyes were red with emotion as he swore to her, "You have sacrificed so much for me. There is no other woman who loves me as dearly as you do. I will definitely marry you, and you shall be my wife." If other women were put in this situation, she would definitely hate him for choosing his mother over her. However, only Shuang would always put him over herself. She would sacrifice herself for his sake. How was it possible for him to find another perfect woman like Shuang'er and let her down? No matter who was against his wish, it would never stop him from marrying Shuang'er. Tan Shuang turned away from Liu Yuchen. She refused to look at his face. I heard that Chancellor Liu did not allow you to leave the manor. He even forced you to marry the princess. If the princess loves you, do you think I still stand a chance? Liu Yuchen frowned a little and uttered with little hesitation, she already has the state preceptor, and she won't bother me again. Tan Shuang sneered mockingly. Yuchen, have you ever wondered why the state preceptor has fallen in love with the useless princess? She is just abusing her power as a princess to force him into this. She has only one objective, which is showing off to you. She wants to prove to you that she can still attract other guys so you will pay more attention to her. However, I don't blame her. Love makes people blind. It is normal for her to play tactics in order to get you. Tan Shuang spoke sadly while lowering her gaze. Her eyelashes trembled with tears. Chapter 209. The breakthrough to true warrior Tier 3. Liu Yuchen was left speechless. He would believe every single word said by Tan Shuang without any doubt if this situation happened in the past. However, he could not see his reflection in Feng Ruking's eyes anymore. He was unsure whether current Feng Ruqing still loved him like those days. You don't have to worry, Shuang'er. Whether Feng Ruqing is still chasing after me or not, my determination will never change. Liu Yuchen's gentle, compassionate eyes looked determined. He was committed. I will go home now and tell them my decision. I will come back and ask for your hand in marriage after you have recovered. Liu Yuchen was reluctant to bid farewell as he glanced at Tan Shuang for the last time before leaving. He turned and walked toward the door. Tan Shuang's gaze was still locked on Liu Yuchen. It was filled with complicated emotions. Since Liu Yuchen had chosen Lady Liu over her, her hatred toward him was already rooted deep inside her heart. However, this was not the right time to fall out with him. Her father had been suspended from his official duty. She must find someone else to rely on. Now, she could only make use of Liu Yuchen's guilt and cling to him. 2 months flew by in the blink of an eye. A young woman was meditating quietly on the back hill. Her body was surrounded by a flowing spiritual qi. That spiritual qi transformed into a fine trace and surrounded her body before diffusing into her breathing system. It was then absorbed by her body. Suddenly, the qi energy burst into dashing particles with a loud sound and entered her body at high speed. Even Fu Chen and Qing Han, who stayed in the medium, could sense the strong spiritual qi. Their petite bodies were stiff from shock. Their eyes widened in disbelief. Brother Fu Chen, did Mother break through to true warrior tier? Qing Han stared blankly at the sky. Perhaps it was only her illusion. The sky seemed a little disturbed as a turmoil started to form in the sky. How was this possible? This medium was created by the 9th Emperor. They had brought the medium along before they left. They had even kept divine herbs sect inside the medium. Thus, under normal circumstances, this medium had changed into another world. Except for Feng Ruqing, who could enter and leave this place anytime she liked, this medium was unaffected by other energy influence. However, why was this medium affected by the spiritual qi movement, if Mother had only reached true warrior tier? Why? Fu Chen frowned, deep in thought. His cute eyes were serious. Did you realize that the spiritual qi movement is somehow familiar? Qing Han's eyes widened in shock. Last time, the 9th Emperor watered them with her own spiritual qi instead of regular water. The previous Feng Ruqing was too weak, so there was barely any changes to this medium. Both of them could not sense anything. However, Qing Han had managed to sense it this time. Her mother, who liked to take advantage of other people, had similar spiritual qi, like the 9th Emperor's one. Fu Chen bit his lips anxiously. Qing Han, maybe we are overthinking. Better not let her know about this matter. Let's pretend like nothing has happened. But, if the medium is already affected when she advanced to true warrior tier, imagine what will happen if she continues to advance. What will happen to our medium? Perhaps they could leave this place earlier than expected. On the back hill, The meditating young woman finally opened her eyes slowly. She stood up and found that her clothes had become loose. She smiled in satisfaction. Her lips curved up. Looks like the first thing I need to do after leaving this hill is to get well-fitting clothes for myself. She had not left this place in these 2 months. In fact, all her meals and herbal dish were sent by the four-armed ape in order not to disturb her training so that she could fully concentrate on her training. Although she could not totally slim down in 2 months, it was a massive change for her compared to her old self. For instance, she could not fit in this dress anymore. Chapter 210, The Breakthrough to True Warrior Tier 4. At this moment, Feng Ruqing realized that something was going on with the sword in her hand. This was the sword she had cheated off Fu Chen previously. It looked like an ordinary sword and that there was nothing special about it. She had never used this sword because she could not even pull it out of its scabbard. However, she noticed something obvious about the sword. Previously, it was grayish and dull, but it seemed a bit shiny now. Even the dragon crafted on the sword blade looked more alive. Feng Ruqing rubbed her eyes repeatedly as she was worried that it was merely her illusion. However, she found that the sword was indeed different. It was not dull and bleak. There was a hint of greenish shine. Realizing the changes that had happened to her sword, Feng Ruqing was very excited to pull out the sword from its scabbard with full force. However, the sword was still very heavy for her. She could not remove it at all. Perhaps, I am overthinking. Feng Ruqing's face darkened. She could not do anything about it. This sword can only be used as Fu Chen's food. Too bad that there is no other way to use it. Especially when it was a heavy sword. It was very inconvenient for her to carry it around. If only, she could find a place to hide it. After all, even though it was not useful to her, she could still feed it to Fu Chen. So, she must keep it somewhere safe. Just as she was thinking about this, the sword suddenly emitted a bright light and disappeared from her hand. Feng Ruqing was dumbfounded. Where was her sword? Without waiting for her to ask Fu Chen, she was pulled by a sudden mysterious force. She knew that Fu Chen was calling for her, so she did not fight it. The force brought her into the medium. Once she entered the medium, Feng Ruqing saw the long sword lying quietly on the floor. Her face went dark before she lifted Fu Chen, who was standing beside her. She questioned him, "What? Fu Chen, how can you take back something that you have already given away, huh?" Fu Chen rolled his eyes and explained, "The old medium could suck in things from outside. Otherwise, Qing Han and I could not keep divine herbs sect in here in the first place. However, it might not work this way anymore." He then pursed his lips and continued, "So, once you take anything out from this medium, there's no way to bring it in again." Of course, Feng Ruqing was an exception herself. Feng Ruqing was puzzled as she squinted. "What happened just now? I am not sure too. I only know that this medium has somehow changed after you have managed to reach true warrior tier. Now, it can function like before where it can store things from outside, like a giant pouch bag." In ancient China, pouch bags did exist, but there were not many of them. Even Feng Ruqing as the princess of Liu Yun Kingdom did not own one. If this were really virtual storage like a pouch bag, it would be much more convenient for her later on. At least, she could store many things in this medium, so she did not have to carry heavy belongings all over the place. Feng Ruqing rubbed her chin as she had an idea. This medium contains higher spiritual qi compared to the outside world. If I cultivate the spirit herbs here, will it be more productive with less effort? Fu Chen agreed and nodded. You can bring things in from outside, so it applies to the spirit herbs as well. What about the spirit beasts? She had little time to cultivate the spirit herbs. No, it doesn't work like that at the moment. Currently, this medium only manages to store living things, which do not have intelligence. Spirit beasts have intelligence, so they are unable to come here. Fu Chen shook his head while explaining the situation to her. It does not work for the time being. It also means that perhaps it could work in the future. Since this is the case, I will make use of this medium for myself. Let the spirit beasts conquer the back hill. Chapter 211, Both Tan Shuang and dogs are prohibited I Chin Hui Riverside. Paramount. Paramount was indeed the first restaurant in Liu Yun Kingdom. The number of customers was high. Recently, there was the selling of herbal dish in Paramount. It was not only delicious, but it could also heal illnesses too. Therefore, Paramount had made a rule that a person could not enter Paramount if the person did not have enough money to spend. Soon, Paramount became a place only for nobles. Even so, there were a lot of customers who came to Paramount from all over the place just for the sake of the herbal dish. Tan Shuang stood in front of Paramount. Her eyes were drooping. She had not recovered from her injuries yet, and she needed others' help to walk. Her face still went pale with pain whenever she took a step. Her cold sweat ran down endlessly. Yu Chen, you have snuck out of the Liu Manor today just to bring me here for the herbal dish. Isn't that a little inappropriate? Tan Shuang bit her lip, her eyes were filled with worries. It seemed that Tan Shuang was really worried about Liu Yuchen. Liu Yuchen hugged Tan Shuang's waist with deep concern for her. Today, my father went to the palace for some business. Hence, I could sneak out. Your injuries are healing too slowly, and they can only be helped with the herbal dish. So, you don't have to overthink. I cannot stand the sight of you, enduring the pain all by yourself. Shuang'er has sacrificed a lot for me. The Tan family is even burdened by me. My father did not even allow me to have a relationship with her. My mother's behavior has changed too. It is making me feel so distress. Tan Shuang is the most innocent person among all the others. I cannot leave her behind. If not, I would be no different from a villain. Yu Chen, Tan Shuang smiled at last. This was her first smile after the punishment. Her smile was still very beautiful and captivating. Thank you, she smiled slightly. Thank you for staying by my side all this while. I, Tan Shuang, will not leave your side too for my whole life. That smile and that voice captivated Liu Yuchen's heart like a hand. It dazed him, and he soon fell into a trance. Unknowingly, there was an image in Liu Yuchen's mind now. It was plump and large like a giant mountain. It made him smiled coldly. My father had asked me to marry Feng Ruqing. That is absolutely impossible. Liu Yuchen endured the sight of Feng Ruqing's plump body before because she was obedient, and she had always listened to him. But now, he would never marry Feng Ruqing whether or not there was a place for him in Feng Ruqing's heart. No man in this world would not want to marry a beautiful lady. Liu Yuchen was a normal man. He made the decision just like any other man would. Liu Yuchen held Tan Shuang's hand tightly when he thought of this. He smiled gently. Shuang'er, let's go inside. I heard that the herbal dish here is very effective. It'll definitely help to heal your injuries. Tan Shuang nodded slightly. She smiled softly. She allowed Liu Yuchen to lead her in. Liu Yuchen did not realize that there was a tinge of wickedness on Tan Shuang's face when he looked away. Tan Shuang's smile disappeared and was replaced with wickedness and evil like a serpent's. Soon, the people in Paramount came and led them in. Liu Yuchen did not reserve a place, so they were led to the lobby. They just needed the herbal dish for Tan Shuang's injuries. Anywhere would be fine. Chapter 212. Both Tan Shuang and dogs are prohibited too. However, Liu Yuchen's facial expression changed after he listened to the prices of the herbal dish mentioned by the waiter. Is Paramount a robber? A blood-enriching decoction costs $10,000? What about that other herbal dish? It's just some herbs and trotter. How can it cost $20,000? How can you rob others' money like this? Liu Yuchen was infuriated. The Liu family was under Liu Yuchen's father control now. Liu Yuchen could only use $50,000. Now, the two herbal dishes had almost depleted all of his money supply. The waiter rolled his eyes. Young master, why did you come here if you can't afford it? It's an order from our elder. If Tan Shuang comes to Paramount, the prices we offer would be like the prices I mentioned. If you can't afford it, just get lost. Liu Yuchen nearly vomited blood from anger. The people in Paramount are rude. If Paramount is not the only restaurant offering the herbal dish, I'd definitely not waste such money. Unfortunately, some people who had tried the herbal dish before had returned and tried to brew the herbal dish by themselves. But they could not make it. It was either the herbs used were too strong, and it caused nose bleeding, or the prescription was wrong and it could not help the healing process. But Liu Yuchen did not understand. The prices of the herbal dishes are not like these. Why did they change the prices when Tan Shuangshuang came? Tan Shuangshuang's face paled when she heard about what the waiter said. She bit her lip hard, raised her head, and looked at the waiter with watery eyes. May I know why Paramount is treating me like this? The waiter smiled coldly. At first, our young master said Tan Shuangshuang and dogs are prohibited here. But our young master said that it might disgrace the dogs and we should not let go of the chance of earning money. Then, he made this rule. Tan Shuangshuang's body shook, and she nearly fell to the ground. The person who was aiming at her was not only the elder of Paramount but also the young master who never made an appearance in person in front of the people. What did I do that infuriate them, and now they want to bully me? Dogs and Tan Shuangshuang are prohibited. I was never disgraced like this. Paramount is just too arrogant. Liu Yuchen was angry when he saw how pitiful Tan Shuangshuang looked. He slapped the table and stood up. His eyes were burning with anger. My Shuangshuang is gentle and nice. Why is everybody against her? Fengruching is like this. The young master of Paramount is like this too. Everybody in Paramount focused their eyes on Liu Yuchen because of his outburst. All the people who were able to come to Paramount were noble. They knew Liu Yuchen surely. They were shocked when they saw Liu Yuchen and Tan Shuangshuang. Chancellor Liu mentioned that Tan Shuangshuang would never be allowed to be married into the Liu family when Grand Tutor Tan was dismissed from his service. They never thought that Liu Yuchen would bring Tan Shuangshuang along to Paramount. He even had an argument with Paramount. Young Master Liu, you need to bring enough money if you want to bring people out for food. Are you planning to eat here for free if you don't have enough money? The waiter of Paramount spoke calmly. But an average person would not be able to work in Paramount. How would the waiter be frightened by Liu Yuchen? Moreover, Paramount's young master would be on the waiter's side even if Liu Yuchen made a fuss. So, what was there to be afraid of? But why was Paramount against these two people? The waiter did not know the reason. He just heard of the event vaguely. It seemed that these two people had infuriated the woman who was loved by the young master. Surely, the young master would not just forget about it. Chapter 213. Both Tan Shuangshuang and dogs are prohibited. 3 The others in Paramount heard what the waiter had said, and they could now understand the situation better. It seems that the Liu family is not stable now after what happened to the Tan family. They even think of coming to Paramount to dine for free. It really disgraces the Chancellor's family. They are so daring to come here when they could not afford even a meal. Does the Chancellor know about this? The Chancellor might break his legs if he gets to know about this incident. Liu Yuchen's facial expression twisted further after hearing their comments. He would definitely make a fuss if those people were normal citizens. But he recognized a few faces from the crowd. He could not help but forget about what he wanted to say in retort. Yuchen, Tan Shuangshuang lowered her eyes. She appeared pitiful. It's okay. My injuries will heal. Just go home. We don't have to waste this kind of money. Liu Yuchen looked at Tan Shuangshuang. Her face was clearly pale because of the loss of too much blood. He had made a difficult situation and held Tan Shuangshuang from standing up. He gritted his teeth and said, "Just bring those 2 dishes that I ordered just now. It's just $30,000. I'll spend more if it could help Shuang'er to recover." The waiter smirked. "All right. But, young Master Liu, can you please pay the bill first?" Liu Yuchen's body shook with deep fury. What does it mean? Do you think that I'll fail to pay my bills? The waiter smiled coldly. I'll trust the others. But, young Master Liu, you intended to eat for free just now. What should I do if you plan to have the meal and run away without paying your bill? I can't win in a fight against you. So, I'll just ask you to pay first." Liu Yuchen's body shook even more vigorously. He felt that he was being embarrassed. But Liu Yuchen endured his anger without losing it in front of others because he saw the waiters smirk and the looks given by the others. He gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, let's pay the bill first. Surely I'll have a chance to take revenge on Paramount in the future. Now, I'll just endure it now." Liu Yuchen threw the silver coins in front of the waiter. "Take it. If not, the others would misunderstand and think that I'll eat the meal for free." The waiter smiled broadly. He took the silver coins happily. Each silver coin was worth $10,000. "It seems that I have misunderstood just now. Young Master Liu is really generous. You have even given Paramount a generous tip just because you want to prove that you're not the kind of person who would eat anything for free. Then, I'll take the money for my young master happily." The love you have for Tan Shuangshuang is true love. You can spend this much for her. At first, nobody realized that Paramount raised their prices of the herbal dishes because they did not notice the commotion. Now, Liu Yuchen nearly vomited blood after he heard about what the waiter had said. "It's you who raised the prices and asked for $30,000. Now, you said that I've tipped you a lot. Who would tip this much? What's more important? My father would definitely break my legs if he knows that I've spent this much money on Tan Shuangshuang. What resentment does Paramount have against me?" Liu Yuchen was very angry. He wanted to kill the waiter there and then. "Why do you frame me like that? No. Paramount doesn't resent you. We sincerely wish that you and Tan Shuangshuang will marry as soon as possible. Don't just keep Tan Shuangshuang by your side for this long without proper status." The waiter coughed a few times. He changed his arrogant behavior and seemed very friendly now. Chapter 214. Both Tan Shuangshuang and dogs are prohibited. For Tan Shuangshuang's face paled. What she hated the most was being embarrassed by others without any valid reason. Although she had a romantic relationship with Liu Yuchen for many years, she had never slept with him. "Why does everyone want to bully me, given that I'm just a weak woman?" "Yuchen." Tan Shuangshuang bit her lip hard. There were tears in her eyes. Liu Yuchen's heart hurt. He did not care about where he was. He gritted his teeth and made a vow. "Shuanger, I'll definitely marry you. I'll give you a proper status to be by my side." He would not allow anyone to gossip about her reputation anymore. There was a sudden commotion at the entrance of Paramount. Liu Yuchen could not help but frown and looked toward the entrance. That moment, his eyes showed great shock and helplessness. A girl was standing at the entrance. How was one to describe her? The girl was slightly plump, and one could say she had a full figure. But her eyes were bright, and her skin was fair. Her appearance was captivating. The only shortcoming she had was that she was plump. It was only a little. There were not a lot of people who were as fat as Feng Ruching. She would surely be a captivating beauty if this lady could be slimmer and have a more prominent feature on her face. Liu Yuchen felt that this girl looked familiar. He could not remember where he had met this girl before. "Yuchen." Tan Shuangshuang saw a flash of admiration in Liu Yuchen's eyes. She quickly tugged at his sleeve anxiously. Now, she had lost the Tan family's protection. All she had now was Liu Yuchen. She could not allow any other woman to seduce him. That lady was not as slim as her. However, her features were very prominent and beautiful. She even made her less pretty standing there next to her. Moreover, she could invoke this kind of response in Liu Yuchen, even with her plump body. What if she were as slim as Tan Shuangshuang? Would Liu Yuchen's eyes ever fall upon her again? This was the first time Tan Shuangshuang felt the danger of losing Liu Yuchen. Tan Shuangshuang never had this kind of threat even when she had encountered Feng Ruching before. It was because Feng Ruching was so obese that nobody would ever fall for her with that plump body. But the woman in front of her was nothing like Feng Ruching. She could not help but be alert at that moment. Which family is that lady from? How come I have never met her before? Liu Yuchen frowned. He looked at the girl's bright eyes. There was a flash of light in Liu Yuchen's eyes. Slimming down would be very difficult for her in the past. But, recently Paramount had offered a herbal dish which could help people to slim down. If she could be like Tan Shuang, who was slim and had prominent features, then she would surely be more beautiful than Tan Shuang. Moreover, her appearance now was quite captivating even though she was not as slim as Tan Shuang. Princess, why are you walking so fast? Wait for Liu Li and me. A soft voice came from behind the young girl. After a short while, the others saw two palace maids following the young lady into Paramount. Qing Ling was about to say something, but she suddenly stopped when she saw that all the eyes in Paramount were fixed on them. She was shocked, and retreated a few steps slowly. Princess, what happened? Why were those people giving her that look? What did she do wrong? Chapter 215. The shock felt by Liu Yuchen. Liu Yuchen's head went blank after the shock. Princess? Feng Ruqing? Absolutely impossible. How can this pretty young girl who has captivated others be the plump and fat princess? But, the two palace maids who are standing next to the girl are indeed the palace maids who had always been beside Feng Ruqing. Paramount's lobby fell into a loud silence. Liu Yuchen's legs became heavy. They were heavy like lead, and they weighed him down. His breathing became heavy too. He walked toward Feng Ruqing in the silent lobby. Liu Yuchen, what are you doing? Liu Li frowned and stood in front of Feng Ruqing. She gave a warning look to Liu Yuchen. If you dare to come near the princess, His Majesty will never forgive you. Princess. Liu Yuchen stopped walking. He laughed out loud. His laughter was like the laughter of an insane person. It was as if his laughter could somehow help to calm him down. Did you say that this girl is the princess? Everyone knows that the princess is the most obese person in Liu Yun Kingdom. This girl is just plump. It's impossible that she's the princess. I won't believe it. The princess I know is only a fat person. She would never be the beautiful girl in front of me. Liu Li, back off. The sudden voice subsided Liu Li's anger, and calmed Liu Li down. But, this voice was a heavy blow to Liu Yuchen. This clear voice is my nightmare for so many years. Feng Ruqing, this beautiful girl with bright eyes is indeed the princess. Liu Yuchen could not stand straight. There was a mixture of admiration, shock, and helplessness in his eyes. He used his long fingers to hold onto a chair beside him. It seemed that he had used up all his strength on all the emotions he felt. Why? She could just be anybody. But why was it Feng Ruqing? A woman whom he had treated like a nobody and had left behind. Yuchen. Tan Shuang's slender figure trembled. But, her steps were strong. She walked toward Liu Yuchen and held on to Liu Yuchen. Then, she smiled at Feng Ruqing. Princess, congratulations. You've finally slimmed down. Feng Ruqing raised her eyes and looked at the two people in front of her. She had come to Paramount because of business and never thought she would bump into them there. Was it fate? Or were Liu Yuchen and Tan Shuang just unlucky? It seems that Tan Shuang is healing in a good way. Feng Ruqing smiled. It looks like Liu Yuchen is going to marry her soon. I'll congratulate both of you here. Finally, you can be a loving couple. Feng Ruqing was sincere in wishing them. Tan Shuang and Liu Yuchen are a couple. They would not go and harm others after they marry each other. It's good. It's wonderful. Tan Shuang paled. Feng Ruqing knows what happened to the Tan family because of what she has done. Feng Ruqing even knows that Chancellor Liu would never let me in. But, she wanted to disgrace me just by saying this. Princess. Tan Shuang's eyes narrowed. I know that you hate me. The Tan family is burdened by me. However, Princess, please do not go on and harm the Liu family. Chancellor Liu has worked a lot to achieve what he has now. Tan Shuang's motive in saying this was to indicate to Liu Yuchen that Feng Ruqing was a wicked and evil woman. They were not sure whether Feng Ruqing would harm Chancellor Liu or not. Chapter 216. The shock felt by Liu Yuchen. Liu Yuchen did not bother about Tan Shuang. He fixed his gaze upon Feng Ruqing. If Feng Ruqing could slim down earlier, they would probably not be at this stage. But, why now? Why had she appeared like this when they reached an impasse? Did she do this just to make him feel bad and regret what he had done? Yes. She had succeeded. He did regret it. At first, he should have understood. Feng Ruqing was not the same woman who would always cling on to him and make trouble wherever she went after he found out that she had changed. But, Liu Yuchen was always disgusted by her plump body whenever they met. If she were like this from the beginning, he could have accepted her. It would not have been that difficult. Yuchen. Tan Shuangshuang realized that Liu Yuchen was still staring at Feng Ruqing. She was very anxious. She bit her lip hard. There were tears in her eyes. Do you not want me anymore? Her voice was sad, and it showed deep grief. Finally, Liu Yuchen regained his senses. That's right. The person he loved the most was Shuang'er, no matter how Feng Ruqing had changed. Shuang'er had sacrificed a lot for her. How could he just abandon her? He, Liu Yuchen, would never do such a thing. Princess. Liu Yuchen smiled slightly. Are you looking for Shuang'er and I here? Feng Ruqing looked at Liu Yuchen in confusion, her brows furrowed. Did I come here for you and Tan Shuangshuang? Why don't I know about it? Liu Yuchen lowered his eyes. He knew what he did to her in the past was too much. It almost killed her. It was only normal if she hated him now. Princess, I know that you hate Shuang'er and me. But, Shuang'er has paid for that. I just hope that you will let bygones be bygones. Feng Ruqing looked at Liu Yuchen calmly. Her voice was neither cold nor calm. Nobody could guess what she felt now. Liu Yuchen. You're wrong. I have never hated you. Not before, not now. She just hated Feng Ruishuang and noble consort Rong. She loathed all the people from the Liu family. It was because of them that the original owner suffered a tragic end. Moreover, her mother's death was somehow related to them. But, she had never hated Tan Shuangshuang and Liu Yuchen. These two people originally love each other. They had suffered a lot because of what the previous owner had done in separating the two of them. But, the original owner had paid with her life. Thus, Feng Ruqing did not hate them. Similarly, they should not feel guilty. We're divorced now. They could go ahead and marry each other. Whatever happens next is none of my business anymore. I've decided that I would never be bothered about them after I come to this land. But, they are still foolishly wanting to mess with me even though I have ignored them every time we met. If not, I was definitely not going to punish Tan Shuangshuang and dismiss Grand Tutor Tan before he had a chance to go into the palace. I do not mess with anybody if they did not mess with me first. If they dare to mess with me, I'll not let them get away with it. I'm not that weak. Do you not hate me? Liu Yuchen was stunned. His voice was filled with disbelief. How come you don't hate me? You treat Shuang'er like this every time we meet. Is this not hatred? Feng Ruqing smiled. Her smile was bright and captivating. It was like the sunlight in spring. It lit up the whole world. Chapter 217. The shock felt by Liu Yuchen 3. Then, I'll just ask you one question. Did you ever see me calling after you out of my own initiative? You're always messing with me when I ignore you. The smile in Feng Ruqing's eyes faded and it was replaced with coldness. I explained it well in the notice. It's Feng Ruishuang who claimed that you're good and nice in front of me. Thus, I started to admire you, but soon I discovered that you're not meant for me. You even have your own lover. Why do I still have to cling on to you? It's you who has messed with me first. I, Feng Ruqing, am not a kind person too. If you've wronged me, for sure, I'll do something in return. Why do I have to tolerate your behavior? Liu Yuchen's body froze. It sounds logical. Feng Ruqing was not bothered about Liu Yuchen anymore since she woke up the other day. He thought that Feng Ruqing was just playing fast and loose with him until he saw how Feng Ruqing looked at the state preceptor. In fact, Liu Yuchen knew that Feng Ruqing did not love him anymore since that moment. Every argument happened because Liu Yuchen had started to mess with Feng Ruqing first. The incident that had happened at the spirit herbs shop was a good example too. His mother had told him about the whole incident after they had returned to the Liu residence. It happened because she had called after Feng Ruqing first. From the beginning until the end, she had never come running after him. Liu Yuchen was having mixed feelings now. He never wanted Feng Ruqing to cling on to him. But, now that he knew that he had finally gotten rid of her, he felt some bitterness in his heart. It seemed that a thing which was his and was always circling around him had disappeared now. Tan Shuangshuang looked at Liu Yuchen, who was deep in thought. She felt nervous, and she quickly grabbed Liu Yuchen's hand. But, she used too much strength, and Liu Yuchen soon recovered his senses. Liu Yuchen. Feng Ruqing looked at Tan Shuangshuang before turning her gaze upon Liu Yuchen. She smiled slightly and said, "I don't understand at all. I've said everything clearly. Why do you still think that I love you? Why do you think that the reason I punished Tan Shuangshuang was because of the fact that you love her?" Liu Yuchen fell into deep thought again. He still thought Feng Ruqing loved him because Tan Shuangshuang had always told him that Feng Ruqing's hatred toward her was because of the love Feng Ruqing had for him. Hence, Liu Yuchen had always felt that he had wronged Tan Shuangshuang. He felt guilty toward her, and he hated Feng Ruqing even more. Now, he discovered the whole truth after he knew that Feng Ruqing no longer loved him. Was Tan Shuangshuang leading him on all this while? No. Shuang'er was always naive and kind. She would not do such a thing. Princess. Tan Shuangshuang was very anxious now. She clenched her fists tightly, and there was a smile on her pale face. "I see, Princess, you've let go of Yuchen long ago. I always think that you have not forgotten about him because you've done so much for him. There were even some extreme events which you have done before. Now, I know that I've misunderstood you, Princess." The underlying meaning was that Tan Shuangshuang did not simply make the assumptions. She had those assumptions because of the extreme things Feng Ruqing had done before. Liu Yuchen soon felt relieved. His Shuang'er was kind and nice. She wouldn't do such a thing intentionally. It was all because of what Feng Ruqing had done before and her sudden decision in giving him up. Shuang'er did not intentionally make those assumptions. Chapter 218. The jealous Tan Shuangshuang. It seems that you're not only stupid but your sense of hearing is bad too. Feng Ruqing looked at Tan Shuangshuang condescendingly. She seemed overbearing and looked sideways at her. "I can't wait for you to become Liu Yuchen's wife. Why would I mess with you?" Tan Shuangshuang's face became pale. Her eyes were vacant. She looked at Feng Ruqing without any facial expression. Moreover, Liu Yuchen is not a good man. His appearance and features are normal. He has a bad temper. His strength is weak too. Even his intelligence is low. How bad of a taste did I have to become the lady of the Liu family before? Compared to him, the state preceptor is beautiful and handsome beyond words. His figure, it could seduce anyone. He is gentle, and he always treats others in a friendly way. His strength is unknown, but it must be very powerful. How blind was she to go and cling on to Liu Yuchen before? The people in Paramount made their comments at the sidelines. Feng Ruqing. She had also fallen for Liu Yuchen's beauty before. She had used a lot of tactics just to be married to him. Who knew that she would look down on him after she had woken up? Everyone saw how drastically Liu Yuchen's facial expression changed. His face turned from blue to white. Then, it turned from white to blue again. It was like a dye house with all the colors mixed together. But, Liu Yuchen's gaze never left Feng Ruqing. It made sense. Feng Ruqing was a beast before. Nobody would admire her because of her plump body before. But, she had slimmed down and changed a lot now. Furthermore, Liu Yuchen had always loved beautiful people. The concubines Liu Yuchen had in the Liu family could never compare to Feng Ruqing. Of course, he was regretting. Besides, you did not even greet and bow to me when you see me. As a son of a minister, where are your manners? Feng Ruqing was overbearing. It made Liu Yuchen's body freeze. He was still in a deep shock. He had forgotten about manners. Now that Feng Ruqing had reminded him, he could not help but bow down to her. Yuchen greets the princess. Qing Ling looked at the princess. Princess, you've allowed him to talk for so long standing there in front of you. Now, you mention his manners. Isn't it too late? Feng Ruqing could not be blamed for her ignorance. She came from Hua Xia. She did not put emphasis on manners too much. If not, her 2 palace maids would not be that rude in the princess manner. But one must teach him some manners given that Liu Yuchen is this kind of person. Feng Ruqing raised her eyes and looked at Tan Shuangshuang. She soon found no desire to talk to Tan Shuangshuang. She used both of her hands to press against Tan Shuangshuang's back heavily. One never knew whether she was intentional or unintentional. Her hands made contact with Tan Shuangshuang's injuries, and Tan Shuangshuang screamed in pain. Then, Tan Shuangshuang kneeled down on the ground under Feng Ruqing's force. Tan Shuangshuang lowered her eyes, and there was resentment and unwillingness in her eyes. Feng Ruqing could act wantonly because of his majesty. If Feng Ruqing was not the princess. If I'm in Feng Ruqing's position, I'll definitely do much better than her. I could even make the whole world belong to Liu Yun Kingdom. Feng Ruqing is still a villain, although her appearance has changed. She's just a good-for-nothing person who knows nothing. Qingling, Liu Li, if there's anyone who accuses me of clinging on to Liu Yuchen again in the future, just let the snow wolf bite them. Qingling was stunned for a while. But, didn't you send the snow wolf out? Feng Ruqing thought for a while. That seemed to be true. It had not returned and it had been 10 days now. Then just let Big Bear go and beat them up. I won't allow anyone to tamper with my reputation. Chapter 219. The jealous Tan Shuangshuang 2. What if the state preceptor still thought that she was still in love with Liu Yuchen and refused to marry her? Then who will be responsible for compensating her for such a handsome state preceptor? What a pity. Qingling, Liu Li, feel free to order anything that you like in Paramount, I'll foot the bill. Feng Ruqing waved her hand and said generously. She was too lazy to pay attention to the 2 people who were kneeling. After all, she owned all the herbal dishes as Paramount would pay half of the profit to her. No matter how much she ordered, half of the gain would go in her pocket eventually. Liu Li had no comment on Feng Ruqing's generosity. As for the previous 2 months, she was the one who had been dealing with the elders in Paramount. She took every prescription that the princess had given her to Paramount. So she knew well that Paramount and the princess had a very close relationship. Many thanks to your highness in rewarding us with herbal dishes, Liu Li said respectfully. As Tan Shuangshuang looked up, she heard Feng Ruqing's bold and generous voice. She suddenly sneered. The herbal dishes in Paramount were extremely expensive. No matter how rich was Feng Ruqing, she could not spend her money in such a way. She dared to say so simply because she did not know the price of the herbal dishes. Besides, Paramount was so disgusted with her even if she did nothing. With Paramount's quality of not fearing the power, this vicious woman Feng Ruqing would likely be kicked out. Tan Shuangshuang recalled what she had experienced just now as she looked at Feng Ruqing walking toward the waiter. There was a hint of spite in her hateful eyes. Any box room here? Feng Ruqing was in the front of the waiter. The waiter frowned. Before he wanted to say that the box should be booked in advance, and then, he accidentally caught a glimpse of the jade pendant hanging from Feng Ruqing's waist. His eyes popped wide open. That jade pendant. Doesn't that belong to the young master? How could it be in princess' hand? That means, the princess is the one whom the young master treasures? The waiter felt a chill down his spine. He felt lucky for not saying anything just now, or else, he would have been banished from Paramount. All the boxes have been fully booked but, if your highness wishes so, I'll contact someone and deal with it to get your highness a room. Oh, Feng Ruqing nodded slightly and said, what's the price for the herbal dishes in Paramount? She had just gotten out of her silent meditation retreat. Liu Li had not informed her of any of the market information. But seeing the crowds in Paramount, it could be assumed that the herbal dishes were famous enough. Cheap, it costs only 1 cent. The waiter smiled ingratiatingly. What a joke. Even though this Liu Yun Kingdom princess reputation was quite notorious, she was the one that the young master cherished. How would the waiter dare to make her pay? Feng Ruqing was stunned as she turned around and looked at the waiter in confusion. The waiter swallowed hard as he lifted one finger, weakly, no matter how much your highness ordered, 1 cent will do. Feng Ruqing's face turned dark. She gave Ju Ming, that kid, all the herbal dishes, and he had only sold it for 1 cent. How could she earn from it? The waiter looked at the silent Feng Ruqing's pitch-black eyes as she was contemplating something. He almost cried because it was frightening. It's free. If your highness dining here, then it's free. Please let me go, your highness. How can I take your highness money? Let's hope the princess would not tell and complain to the young master, or else he would be dead. Free? Feng Ruqing looked up and asked solemnly, you guys who work in Paramount, do you want to make money or are you doing charity? Chapter 220, The Woman Who Came After the State Preceptor. Either waiter was slightly confused. He figured out why Feng Ruqing was angry after hearing what had Feng Ruqing said. He quickly put up an ingratiating smile. Your highness is our honored guest in Paramount, so it's natural to make an exception for your highness. Only your highness has the privilege to enjoy this, no one else can. Feng Ruqing's face began to look better. I, Feng Ruqing, am not a person who can't pay, I'll pay for what it is cost. Do not make an exception for me. The money that was paid would go into her pocket anyway. Oh, yes. Ju Ming had also promised her that in the future, no matter if it were Spirit Herb's shop or Spirit Beast Court, she would be given half of the income from the shop's businesses. She would not be bearing any loss after doing the calculation over and over again. The waiter nodded and bowed. If your highness is so generous, then I would charge you as it is. Unlike some people, who just freeload without paying anything, who is also not ashamed to hook up with girls with such standard. The freeloader, Liu Yuchen, said nothing. Qing Ling, Liu Li, let's go. Feng Ruqing did not look at Liu Yuchen and Tan Shuangshuang. It was as if those two people had nothing to do with her. Or it was more like, they could not get her attention. Liu Yuchen stared at Feng Ruqing as she was leaving. A hint of complex feelings surged inside his heart. Perhaps from the first day they met, he had never thought that one day she would become so excellent. Tan Shuangshuang's face was tight. She clenched her fists tightly and even breathed heavily in pain. She had always thought that Paramount had a distinct identity where it feared no power. But she could not imagine that this Paramount was not that noble nor special. Just because Feng Ruqing was the princess, Paramount had given her special service. If she could be Feng Tianyu's daughter, would Paramount dare to treat her in such a way? All of these happened because of birthright. The unfairness in her birth had caused her to always be suppressed. The woman that Zhuangluan mentioned before. She's the princess of Liu Yun Kingdom. Her name is Feng Ruqing or something else. In the streets of Liu Yun Kingdom, a tiny and unkempt loli was looking around. She pursed her lips tightly, and her gemstone-like eyes looked resentful. Mph. I would like to see which girl had seduced Brother Nanxian. Last time when Zhuangluan returned, she told her that Brother Nanxian was captivated by a coquette from Liu Yun Kingdom. She wanted to see how the coquette looked like. How could she lose to that coquette, and why would Brother Nanxian be attracted by her? A little girl was standing behind the loli. She was a tiny jolthead, unkempt as well, and looked like a beggar. But, lady, why should we dress like that when you want to find young Master Nanxian and the coquette? These clothes look very ugly. The loli glared at her. Are you stupid? They don't let me out. If I don't disguise myself, what should I do if I get caught? The little servant said nothing. Little lady's words were so true as she had no words to reply. Qian Ning. Something flickered in the lollis eyes. Tell me, if I found that coquette, then I can meet Brother Nanxian, right? Qian Ning felt that her words made perfect sense. Yup, young Master Nanxian never wished to see little lady one, and little lady doesn't know how young Master Nanxian looks like as well. If we really want to find him, we can only find him through that coquette. Chapter 221, The woman who came after the state preceptor? To the lawless smile froze. Those words hurt. She felt as if her heart was stabbed and was dripping with fresh blood. Little lady, Qian Ning rubbed the back of her head in confusion. Did I say anything wrong? All I said was the truth, wasn't it? The lawless heart ached. Please, enough. Would you shut up? She grunted and turned her head, arrogantly. Let's go, and find out how to get to the princess manor. What was the big deal if Nanxian refused to see her? What was the big deal if she had never met Nanxian? She only knew that all the people were praising brother Nanxian. He had a good temper, good personality, he was strong and good-looking as well, the one who excelled in anything. Especially the fact that he had a good temper, which simply struck a chord in her heart. Also, people had said that she would be the one to marry brother Nanxian in the future. That was why she wanted to take a look at the girl who had attracted brother Nanxian. To know how she looked. To protect her love, she immediately grabbed a passerby and asked, "Hey, do you know how to get to the princess manor?" Feng Ruqing was satiated as she walked out from Paramount, and got dragged by a little unkempt thing abruptly. She was stunned at first but slightly smiled as she heard what the little thing was asking. "I know the way." Lolita was delighted. "Really? Could you please bring me there?" Feng Ruqing examined this little thing for a good while and chuckled. "Okay." She walked in front as Liu Li and Qing Ling followed next to her. As the lowly wanted to catch up, the jolthead next to her, Qian Ning, stopped her in a hurry. "Little lady, this person has simply promised you. Could she be a bad person?" "Bad person?" Lolita looked at Qian Ning in confusion. Qian Ning nodded seriously. "I heard them saying that secular people are evil. They will catch us and sell us to the brothel, or even send us to the bad old men and make us their concubines. The more cruel thing is, they will cheat us of our snacks and forbid us to eat." Feng Ruqing, the person who was walking in the front and was possibly going to cheat them of their snacks, said nothing. That little girl was 5 feet tall. Although her face was covered in dirt, it was evident that she was underaged judging from her height. How much could she earn from selling an underaged person? Lolita remained silent. But she really wanted to see that coquette. "Don't worry, Qian Ning, our snacks are stored inside the storage bag. She can't get it." Feng Ruqing stomped her feet and kept on moving without looking back. She knew from her memories that such a storage bag was extremely rare in Kangyu mainland. Liu Yun Kingdom had only one of the storage bags before. Father gave it to the imperial mother, but it eventually vanished with all the treasures inside. Since then, Liu Yun Kingdom had never gotten a storage bag anymore. This little young girl possessed the storage bag, which meant that she was not of a simple status. Such a cool little girl. What was her intention to look for Feng Ruqing in Liu Yun Kingdom? After a while, Feng Ruqing had reached the front of the princess manor. Qian Ning, the lowly, scurried up excitedly. "She didn't lie to us. She has really brought us to the princess manor. When I see Feng Ruqing, do you think I should show her my power and prestige, or should I take out all the treasures from the storage bag and show off? Will she feel inferior? Will she shrink back?" Chapter 222, The Woman Who Came After the State Preceptor. 3 Qian Ning nodded earnestly. "Little lady, I heard that even the grade 3 herbs are rare in the secular world. You can show her any of the spirit herbs and make her feel ashamed. Oh, by the way, little lady, try not to mention the word secular world when you are talking, or else the people who live in the secular world will know our identities." Feng Ruqing, who lived in the secular world, stayed silent. It was sorry to say, but she knew it all. Besides, it was they who kept mentioning the words secular world, didn't they? "Why are you still here?" Qing Ning turned as she saw Feng Ruqing, who was standing at the door of the princess manor. She frowned and said, "You may leave now." Feng Ruqing ignored those 2 lunatics. She winked at Qing Ling and said, "Open the door." "Yes." Qing Ling looked at that 2 loonies hesitantly as she turned and took out a key. Then, the door of the princess manor opened. Opened? The lowly was stunned for a while. When she came to her senses, she turned and looked at Feng Ruqing, Are you from the Princess Manor? Yes. Feng Ruqing was half smirking. Feng Ruqing. The lowly and Qian Ning were speechless. What did they do just now? They discussed and talked about how to psych her out, or to show off in front of Feng Ruqing herself. The lawless eyes were blank. Feng Ruqing's words struck her heart like a fist. She was so ashamed that she wished she could hide inside a hole. Oh dear, what had she and Qian Ning said? Those petty and ill words were nothing to speak in their absence. How could they be so unlucky that Feng Ruqing had heard it? This was so embarrassing for two of them. She blushed, but luckily her face was covered in dirt, so people could not notice it. To hide her panic, the lowly stared at Feng Ruqing angrily. You're Feng Ruqing. Why didn't you say earlier? Feng Ruqing threw up her hands, innocently. You only asked how to get to the Princess Manor, but you didn't ask me who I am. You. The little lowly was getting angry. After thinking for a moment, she realized that it was true. So, she swallowed her anger and snorted. She was surveying Feng Ruqing with those sharp eyes. Strength, lower true warrior tier? That was too weak. Her face was bright but not gaudy and consisted of a feeling of transcendence, which was considered okay. Bah. What okay? She was here to deal with her, not to examine her. Shape, a bit plump but not obese. Does Brother Nanxian like the plump kind? Breasts. The lowly looked at Feng Ruqing's firm breasts and then back at her skinny body. She blushed out of anger and clapped one hand to her bosom. She just hadn't developed completely. She was just a bit late, and there was still room for her to improve. She would definitely surpass her in the future. Feng Ruqing looked at the lowly who was tightly pressing her own chest in wonder. The lowly too stared at her in rage. The way the lowly looked at her, it was as if she was a rogue. Your Highness. Qingling noticed the lowly too, and she recalled what Feng Ruqing had done to them before. She asked weakly, could it be that you have teased this child before, so now the child is trying to get back at you? Feng Ruqing turned pale. Even if she liked beauties, she would not go after a child, right? Or would she? This was definitely a false charge. The lowly felt something was not right as she wanted to retort Qingling at the beginning. As she caught her last sentence, her large eyes turned red and flashed with anger. Chapter 223. The Woman Who Came After the State Preceptor. For who are you referring to as a child? I'm already 15. I grow slower and I am a bit shorter, but I'm not a child. Feng Ruqing was such a wicked woman, accusing her as being a child so she could own Brother Nanxian. Humph. She would not let her get away with it. Princess, can it be true that you had really teased her? Qingling was going to cry. The princess did not only give her love to her and Liu Li, but she also had another girl on the side. And that girl was coming back for the princess. She wanted the princess to be accountable to her. Shut up. Feng Ruqing suddenly shouted and stopped Qingling from crying. Go ahead and tell me, why have you come to me? She squinted and smilingly surveyed this lowly. If you are good looking, I might accept you into my manor. The lawless eyes widened. What did she mean? Accept her. Suddenly, the lowly rolled her eyes as she lifted her chin, arrogantly. I have decided to move into your princess manor. She had heard a lot of rumors about this woman from the beginning. Fat, ugly, vicious, tyrannical, and also divorced by her husband, she seemed a bit plump but not to the extent of obesity. Fat was not quite accurate. But ugly, vicious, tyrannical, and the other rumors were enough to prove that how notorious this woman was. But how could Brother Nanxian like her? Why? She had to stay until she could find out how she could attract Brother Nanxian. It seems like you have nothing to say. Liu Li, throw them out. Feng Ruqing dropped the words without looking back as she wanted to enter the princess manor. The lowly panicked. She quickly rushed into front of Feng Ruqing and stopped her. Being 5 feet tall was a huge difference to Feng Ruqing's 5'7". It hurt her even more. I'm beautiful, I'm really beautiful. I just wanted to escape from my family, so I disguised myself. The dirt on my face I covered myself with it, really. I can wipe it away, I'm really good looking. Feng Ruqing raised her eyebrows and said, get out of my way. No, you have to keep me. I'll live here tonight. Feng Ruqing was too lazy to pay attention to her. She walked past the lowly. The lowly grabbed Feng Ruqing's thigh. Feng Ruqing felt something heavy on her leg. She could not remove her leg from the girl's grip after trying several times. Her face darkened completely. Growl. Growl. The earth bear just came down from the back of the mountain. It noticed a little filthy thing hanging on Feng Ruqing's leg. It growled twice and rushed toward Feng Ruqing. Master's thigh belonged to them. Who was that little thing? How dare it try to take away their thigh one? Feng Ruqing frowned deeper. The little thing was too strong as she could not free her leg after a few attempts. She did not care more, and just as she wanted to walk and drag the lowly along, a big bear suddenly ran over and jumped onto Feng Ruqing. Usually, it would not have been a problem for Feng Ruqing to evade that pounce. However, her leg was being dragged by a little thing, which apparently prevented her from escaping. She could only watch the bear rush forward and grasp onto her leg. Feng Ruqing could even hear the sound of cracking bones in her broken leg. Berry. Berry stared blankly at Feng Ruqing as it could feel her anger. It loosened two of its bare paws and stood aside, trembling. Chapter 224. The Tang family. The earth bear could not understand why Master was not angry with this little filth who was grabbing her leg, but was enraged when the earth bear had only grabbed her lightly. It did not matter if Berry could understand what had happened. The thing was, its divine spirit fruits were going to be forfeited for the next few days. A week of divine spirit fruits. Feng Ruqing inhaled a breath of cold air as she gritted her teeth. Berry felt even more upset when it did not even know what it had done. It looked at Feng Ruqing pathetically. A week of divine spirit fruits. That was like taking the earth bear's life. Luckily, the earth bear knew some of the spots where Brother Wolf had hidden some divine spirit fruits, which could meet its urgent needs. And you, get away from me. Perhaps she was too angry, and the anger seemed to contribute her other leg endless power. She kicked and thrusted the lowly into the air. After a few times of loop-the-loops, she fell outside the door steadily. Qian Ning's eyes almost popped out. She was strong since a very young age. She knew better than anyone how strong she was. How could this so-called useless Feng Ruqing be able to shake her off? Besides, from what she knew about the secular world, it was extremely rare that a 16-year-old person could break through true warrior tier. Even if it were the reclusive family, such talent was considered average but not useless crap. But after all, this was the secular world where it was different from the place they lived. A 16-year-old true warrior tier, that was considered a genius in the secular world. She really could not understand why everyone said she was useless. Qian Ning did not think much. She went to the front of the princess manor and lifted the lowly up. She asked desperately, "Little lady, are you okay?" The lawless eyes were red. No one had ever done that to her since she was born. She was really upset. She would not stop until she could enter and live inside the princess manor. "Qian Ning, buy me the house next to it. If she doesn't want me to go to the princess manor, I will climb over the wall and keep an eye on her." She must find out why Nanxian took a fancy to Feng Ruqing. If she kept an eye on her every day, maybe she could find out her virtues eventually. And I want to dress myself up. They think I'm ugly and won't let me enter. So I want to dress up nicely. Maybe she might fall into my honey trap and let me live inside. Qian Ning was stunned for a while before continuing. "Little lady, don't you want to disguise and hide from them? Those people in the clan are so stupid that they cannot even find me yet. Maybe their IQ doesn't allow them to find me." "I don't care, you have to clean up yourself too. 2 is better than 1. Little lady stood up and lifted her chin arrogantly. She was still very confident with her looks. She would use the honey trap if the coquette fancy beautiful things. She would be hooked for sure. She would let her live and stay inside the princess manor. The space inside was broad. Besides the divine herbs sect that was brought in, there was still a vast space outside. But Feng Ruqing could not explain why she had an indescribable feeling toward the divine herbs sect. So, she decided to plant the medicines at the top of the hill behind the mountains of the divine herbs sect. It was a pity that the spirit beasts could not enter the medium. She had to plant all the herbs on her own. Although Fu Chen and Qing Han had given her the prescriptions, they were not capable of planting it. Chapter 225. The Tang family too. She had to do everything on her own. Feng Ruqing sighed in relief after watching what she reaped from what she had sown for the past few days. She wiped away the sweat on her forehead. Suddenly, she saw Fu Chen and Qing Han looking longingly at the hilltop, which was full of spirit herbs. A sense of danger rose in her heart just by looking at their gaze. How could she forget these two little kids? Fu Chen, Qing Han, if you eat up all of my spirit herbs, then, she squinted and sounded threatening. Fu Chen swallowed his saliva fiercely like a starving wolf. Even if the spirit herbs were not fully grown yet, he wanted to rush forward and eat it all up. Mommy, don't worry about us. We need to digest after eating. After we have fully digested, we don't need grade 3 spirit herbs anymore. Only grade 4 spirit herbs will work for us. Feng Ruqing felt a little at ease after hearing that. She was so worried that all of her hard work would be eaten up by these two little kids, leaving not even one of the spirit herbs to her. Feng Ruqing took one of the divine spirit fruits. She put it in her mouth and bit. This medium has plenty of spiritual qi compared to the outside world. Also, with the prescriptions of making the spirit herbs, this enables the spirit herbs to grow faster. What was more important was, she could plant many more of the divine spirit fruits and recruit more spirit beasts as slaves. After leaving the medium, Feng Ruqing walked down the hill. She disappeared for a few days going to the medium this time. She wondered if that little kid had already left. Feng Ruqing's eyes seemed to show that she was in some deep thoughts as she thought of that little girl. Perhaps she needed someone from Paramount to investigate on this little girl's identity. At least she had to know what was the little girl's intention in approaching her. As Feng Ruqing reached the courtyard wall, a little figure fell from above her head. She subconsciously evaded the falling figure by stepping aside. Bang! The little thing fell right in front of her feet. Little lady, are you all right? Qing Ning peeped from the other side of the courtyard. Suddenly, Feng Ruqing jumped into her sight, and she quickly drew back her head. Oh no, little lady was trying to climb over the wall. Feng Ruqing glanced at Qian Ning, who retracted her head like a tortoise. She looked down and sneered at the young girl who fell in front of her. Hey little one, have you come for me? Lolita was stunned. She had snuck into this place every day, and she was never found climbing over the wall. It was so unlucky of her to run into Feng Ruqing on that day. How did you know it was me? She was unkempt a few days ago, but she was nicely dressed up now. How could the coquette know it was her at first sight? Feng Ruqing surveyed the lowly in front with a faint smile. It's hard not to recognize your height. Though the lowly wanted to retort, she had nothing to say in time. So she bit her lip and said fiercely, Tang Yin, not some little one. Tang Yin looked furious. With that soft, fair baby face, she looked quite pretty and cute. Feng Ruqing had seen quite a number of beauties. Be it Tan Shuangshuang or Feng Rushuang, they were both stunning as well. Or else, one of them would not have become Liu Yukan's white moonlight one, while the other one would not become the moon of Liu Yun kingdom that was surrounded by a myriad of men. But those two, they were no prettier than the young girl who was standing in front. Chapter 226. The Tang family 3. Indeed, Feng Ruqing liked beautiful people. But those beauties she had seen were her enemies, so she simply could not like them. Besides, in comparison to Tan Shuangshuang's delicate beauty, Tang Yin had a kind of spiritual beauty. Only that, Feng Ruqing squinted. She really wanted to know why did this little thing come for her. Tang Yin, who the hell are you? Tang Yin was shocked. Was her identity exposed? No, Feng Ruqing must not know. Or else she would be kicked out and would probably never get a chance to know her merits. She gritted her teeth and lifted her chin, arrogantly. You are not qualified enough to know my identity. Are you curious about me? Curious about my identity? Then let me stay, and maybe you'll find out. Tang Yin suddenly thought she was brilliant. Oh! Feng Ruqing simply uttered a word. She turned and left without looking back. Tang Yin was dumbstruck. That was completely different from what she expected. Don't go. Tang Yin chased after her in panic. If you don't let me stay, I will climb over the wall and look for you every day. I'm really good at hiding. No one in the Princess Manor has found out that I was already doing this for a few days. If you don't want me to harass you, then let me stay. Feng Ruqing stopped walking. But it was not because of Tang Yin. It was because a female servant dressed in green had just excitedly rushed in front of her. She stopped in front of Feng Ruqing. She seemed exhausted. Your Highness has finally returned from the mountain, Liu Li, and I miss you so much. Speaking of which, the little girl climbed over here every day when you were not here these past days. I found out on the first day and had wanted to call Berry to throw her out at first, but Berry was busy in the mountain. The other spirit beasts, they were too weak to do so. She didn't steal anything but simply took a stroll and left. I decided to put it aside and wait until your Highness has returned. Tang Yin was tiny. She hid behind Feng Ruqing so that she was completely blocked from Qing Ling's sight. When Qing Ling finished speaking, Tang Yin's face darkened as she silently walked out from behind Feng Ruqing. Qing Ling was stunned. She has snuck in from the wall again. Feng Ruqing looked up and glanced at Tang Yin's darkened face. She sneered, I thought you said that no one has found out that you climbed over the wall? Tang Yin was speechless. She was only trying to brag, and now what? What was the matter? Was bragging illegal? What was wrong? It seems like I have to blackmail Fu Chen again. Feng Ruqing caressed her chin. She needed a new strategic formation from Fu Chen again. To prevent someone from entering the Princess Manor, or else it would be unsafe. Qing Ling, go and find Berry and ask it to throw this little thing out. Although this little thing was beautiful, she must not fall into her trap. Besides, even though she was good-looking, she would never be more good-looking than the state preceptor. It was not a big deal to tease this little girl if she was not a scoundrel, but it would be quite dangerous if she were. Tang Yin's face darkened. She humphed, you can't stop me, I will be back again. There were 4 kingdoms in Kangyu mainland, namely Liuyun Kingdom, Long-Ao Kingdom, Yiluo Kingdom, and Tianxian Kingdom. Those that were not on the list were the reclusive families who were way above the secular world. The Tang family was one of those reclusive families. Chapter 227. The Tang family. 4 At the moment, inside the chamber of Tang residence, a group of elderly sat in a circle. They looked solemn but calm. No news about Tang Yin yet? That little girl had a unique physique. They wanted her to rest behind the hills, but she was missing now. Even the people sent by the Tang family could not find any of her traces. Elder Tang Yuan, it's not that the Tang family's people could not find her. It is because someone is intentionally hiding her. So it's hard to find her. Tang Yi frowned as he seemed to sink into deep thought. Who's the one that's stopping us from finding Tang Yin? Can it be that young Master Nanxian has already known about this marriage, and has reluctant to marry Tang Yin, so he killed her? If it were young Master Nanxian's character, it was not impossible that he could have done it. The other elders looked at each other after Tang Yi had finished speaking. It can't be right. It was young Master Nanxian's father who had arranged the marriage. If he killed Tang Yin, wouldn't he be afraid that that person would be enraged? Well, the people shuddered as they could not help but think about Nanxian's inhuman temper. Actually, it's only normal that young Master Nanxian doesn't like Tang Yin. Elder Tang Wu sighed and smiled bitterly. Tang Yin's parents are both dead, and she's not gifted. All of you say that she has a special physique, but all I see is that she falls sick every now and then. I see no merit in her. Elder Tang Yi, I really don't understand why you and Elder Tang would choose Tang Yin back then. Tang Wu is right. Tang San sighed as well. It doesn't matter if Tang Yin doesn't return. We can choose Lady Tang Yu as she is the daughter of Master Tang. She's more suitable for the marriage. Tang Yin was not a direct descendant of the Tang family. Her father was the younger brother of Master Tang, Tang Luo. They had chosen Tang Yin to be married to Nanxian because both of the elders of the Tang family had chosen her when the people had requested for a joint marriage. Tang Luo had no objection to this as well. It was my idea to let Tang Yin marry young Master Nanxian. Our master has agreed on that as well. Send more people to look for Tang Yin later, and bring back Tang Yin to me no matter what. Outside the chamber, a young girl dressed in a purple shirt and silk skirt pressed her ear against the door. As she heard footsteps coming through the door, she quickly drew her head back and hid behind the pillar and held her breath. As the door opened, the group of elders who followed behind Tang Yi gradually disappeared from her sight. She clenched her fists tightly as her eyes were filled with anger. It was my idea to let Tang Yin marry young Master Nanxian. Our master has agreed on that as well. Father agreed to that. Her father had agreed to marry the lowly to young Master Nanxian. Tang Yu bit her lip as she frowned slightly in grief. Apparently, although she was her father's daughter, he handed this good deal to Tang Yin. What a pity. Tang Yu wanted the Tang family to hide Tang Yin's trace as this would make it more difficult for the elders to find her. If Tang Yin were dead, she would be the only girl in the Tang family who was unmarried. No one would ever compete with her anymore. Tang Yu frowned as her vicious eyes sunk into deep thought. If she made the Tang family kill Tang Yin, it would definitely trouble her when the truth surfaced. Well, Tang Yu's eyes flashed coldly. That woman had sponged in the Tang family for such a long time. It was time for her to do something now. A person that did not even know who herself was. If it weren't because of father's protection, she would have been kicked out from the Tang family. Chapter 228, Mad Woman I Behind the hill. It was misty like heaven on earth. Behind the hill, every corner was filled with magnolias. Even the cabin looked more fancy surrounded by the magnolias. Tang Yu walked to the front of the cabin. She stopped and her dull expression turned into a bright and innocent smile. She smiled as she entered. Aunt Rong, I've come to see you. A girl sat calmly at the window. Her fingers were just like scallions, long and thin. She wore an elegant, bright yellow, long dress, which looked noble, generous, and as graceful as a swan. She frowned a little as her eyelashes left a line of shadows. She caressed Thejudu one with her cold finger, and she looked just like a beautiful painting. Her eyes were filled with tenderness only at moments like this. Also, she would only be as quiet as a maiden at moments like this. But Tang Yu knew well that this woman was crazy through and through. Shush. Rong Yang looked up. Her eyes were filled with gentleness. She lifted her lips as she spoke in a very light voice. She was afraid that she would wake something up. Stop talking and look, my baby is sleeping. You mustn't wake her up or else I will be angry. Tang Yu felt something stuck in her throat as she clenched her fist tightly. This mad woman. What baby? It was only a doo-doo. This crazy person had lived at the Tang residence for 10 years. She had been by her side for 10 years, but she still could not replace the baby in her heart. This woman, didn't she have a heart? Oh yes, where's my son? Where has my son gone? Rong Yang panicked. She held the doo-doo in her arms and stood up, and grasped tightly at Tang Yu with another hand. She seemed like she was begging. Have you seen my son? Where has my son gone? Tang Yu was so mad that she wanted to push away this crazy person, but she eventually held back. She held Rong Yang's hand gently and kindly smiled. Aunt Rong, you're sick again. Don't you remember, your husband and your son have abandoned you? All you have now is father and me. Rong Yang was stunned. What are you saying? My daughter is in my arms, my son has gone out to play, and he will be back soon. Aunt Rong, father has been indulging you, so he did not tell you about your past and experience. Tang Yu sighed and looked at her, as if in pain. Your husband's family has abandoned you. That's why you have come to our Tang family. Look at the thing in your arms. Is that your daughter? Rong Yang looked down. Her head was hurting so much that she turned pale and held her head tightly. Rong Yang couldn't see clearly. She bit her lip so hard, it bled. She could not recall anything. She could not remember anything. Was she abandoned? By her husband and her son? But she did not know why she had always felt that she wouldn't be abandoned. Aunt Rong. Tang Yu hastily moved next to her. She held her up as she spoke softly and gently, her voice warm like the wind. Don't worry, Father and I will never abandon you no matter what you have become and how others treat you. In my heart, you are just like my mother. Mother, this word completely cut off the string holding Rong Yang together inside her head. She fell backward and into Tang Yu's arms. Tang Yu's bright face suddenly darkened. She looked at the girl in her arms angrily, and reluctantly held and put her on the bed. You have been living in our Tang family for the past 10 years. Father has planted all the magnolias behind the hill just because you like magnolias. And I have coaxed and accompanied you for 10 years. Besides me, who would call you mother? You are so stingy that you have only given me grade 3 spirit herbs when you actually have grade 5 spirit herb. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.